Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the last of the webinars associated with Cyber Essentials for Schools. As I've said before, all of these are available to watch again on our website, and this will be uploaded in 1 or 2 days. I know that some of you have had a real trouble trying to join us this afternoon. I think Microsoft Teams is having a problem this afternoon, but hopefully some of you can join us and others can watch it after the event from our website. As usual, please do ask questions as we go through using the Q&A sidebar. And we've got Duncan Sutcliffe from Sutcliffe & Co joining us today. So Duncan runs the brokers that look after the insurance associated with the Cyber Essentials scheme. So Duncan will go through the overview of the insurance that you get when you achieve Cyber Essentials. And then after that, we'll look at some of the questions, if there are any. All of the questions will be downloaded and we'll provide answers and add them to the website. So if you feel like any of your questions haven't been answered on this session, don't worry, we will answer them and upload them to the website. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Duncan, and Duncan will go through the presentation. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can see the slides now. Technology. Yeah, as Emma said, I'm Duncan from Sutcliffe Insurance Brokers, and we provide the insurance that comes with your Cyber Essentials certification. So, why do you need insurance? Especially if you've gone through the procedure of Cyber Essentials to make your organisation nice and secure. Well, it's the same with other kinds of insurance. If you've got a nice car with an intruder alarm, a tracker, you keep it in a garage, you might have an immobilizer, a wheel clamp to stop it, all these things to stop it being stolen, and then you drive very carefully. You've done an advanced driver course, you have all the technology on the vehicle to ensure that you don't get too close to other people. Things can still go wrong. You've got no control over someone else driving into you. You might sneeze, you might get distracted by a wasp. Your 17-year-old son might pinch the keys and drive off in it. So there's all sorts of things that can go wrong despite all the protections and training in place. So that's why we have insurance, to cover the losses to you and injuries or losses to other people. And the same as in the world of cyber. So what does the cyber insurance provide that comes with your Cyber Essentials certification? Well, the insurance is provided by a company called AXA, and you get 12 months cover, and the cover runs from the same date that you get certified as Cyber Essentials for a full 12 months. And you get £250,000 limit of indemnity. So you have cover that will give you up to £250,000 claims in any 1 year. And it will cover accidental and deliberate breaches. So an accidental example might be someone in your organisation might accidentally email confidential information to the wrong person. Or it could be a deliberate breach, like a virus or a hack. And it will also cover internal and external causes. So internally, you might have a malicious pupil decides to deface your school website, for example, or an external cause could be a denial of service attack or some malware. And it will cover incidents that impact you, and insurance, that means first party. So losses, interruptions, disruption that causes a problem to your system and your data. But it will also cover third party incidents. So that's things that cause a problem to someone else. So if you pass on a virus or lose someone else's data. And I think the key thing that it provides is a 24-hour incident response line, which will enable you to call on the support of the insurer and their emergency response team. The instant something goes pear-shaped, you've got someone there to hold your hand in your time of need. So in a bit more detail, you have liability cover. and it says there what that is. You know, it's things that affect other people. So it would normally be damages to someone else's privacy or security as a result of a breach or problem with your system or your behaviours. It will cover event management. So this is very much the emergency helpline. So it's people coming on site or remotely to assist you in the event of a breach, and that can include notifying your data subjects. And that, you know, typically we're looking at legal support, IT technical support, forensic support, and PR crisis management specialists. And it can also deal with extortion demands, so it will assist you dealing with ransomware. So quite a common problem at the moment. So it will help you deal with removing ransomware from your system and restoring your systems and data. It will also deal with regulatory issues. So you may be in breach of something like the Data Protection Act or other regulations, and it will help defend these and can also pay fines where legally permissible. It will cover business interruption, which is perhaps not so important for schools, but there may be areas where your organisation will lose money as a result of a data breach. And then you have loss of electronic data. So it will cover the costs of trying to restore, replace, replicate, update data that may have been lost or disrupted on your system. But what doesn't the insurance cover? Well, first of all, there's a £1,000 excess. So if you do make a claim, your organisation will have to cover the first £1,000. If the claim emanates in North America, a third-party claim from there, it would be £5,000 excess. There is a 6-hour business interruption excess, which means if your system is disrupted, any lost income for the first 6 hours wouldn't be covered. And it won't cover any money that is lost or stolen. Typically, this would be something like paying a fake invoice or a fraudulent bank transfer. So it will cover cyber incidents, but not cyber enabled theft. It will investigate the cause of the loss, but it won't replace the money if you send someone a payment that was just trickery. And it also won't cover incidents where you fail to install or maintain automatically provided updates from your software provider. But that should be okay, because that's all part of what is required for Cyber Essentials anyway, and good practice that I'm sure all your organisations are carrying out anyway. So what would you do in the event of an incident? Well, actually, I've already said it, you call the helpline. And the helpline for your policy is operated by a company called Essentia, who are an international cybersecurity firm. They have a 24-hour incident helpline, and they will have people there who will immediately be able to prioritize and categorize what your incident is. And depending on what's happened, you'll get technical, forensic, legal and crisis management support there to assist you through your problem. Now, I appreciate a lot of the people listening to this webinar are technical experts themselves, but your day job is to keep the organization ticking along in its normal routine. That keeps you busy enough. So if you would have a difficult or serious incident, having the additional support of specialists in cybercrime or specialists in incident response will be invaluable assistance to you. And you probably realize how much it costs to hire one of these experts by the hour if you really needed one in an emergency. 4 figures an hour for one person would not be unusual. And so how does the insurer help? Well, you call the helpline. They will identify what the problem is. They will restore your systems and data and provide the support that you need to do that. and they'll provide legal defence and legal advice. Have you broken the Data Protection Act? Have you breached contracts? Have you breached people's privacy? And so forth. And sometimes the first you'll hear about a data breach is when you get contacted by a third party saying that they found out that their data is being leaked. They will also notify data subjects. So, for example, if there's a breach of pupil details, they will contact the pupils and their families to notify them of the breach and give you public relations support. So it's very embarrassing for any organisation to suffer a data breach. So you'll get experts on hand to try and minimise the embarrassment and deal with public relations, press interviews, and so forth. And they can pay fines, penalties, legal costs, deal with litigation, lost revenue, and so forth, up to that indemnity limit of £250,000. So, as I said at the start, this is the insurance that comes with Cyber Essentials, but not everyone gets it. So who is eligible? Well, you need to achieve Cyber Essentials through IASME and the risk protection arrangement. Secondly, the entire organisation or network will need to be certified. Now, this can be a bit confusing with some educational organisations where, for example, you might have an academy chain with 6 schools. 3 of the schools are on one network, 3 of the schools are on another network. In this situation, we couldn't provide insurance to all 6 of the schools if only 3 of them had passed Cyber Essentials. So we would insure those on that network that has been certified Cyber Essentials. Thirdly, you need to be UK domiciled. And fourthly, the turnover of your organisation needs to be under 20 million. And then if you pass Cyber Essentials, you get the insurance automatically. So we get some questions. What if you already have cyber insurance? Well, you can't claim on 2 policies. So in the event of a breach, you would need to notify both insurers, and the insurers would allocate which insurance company is going to respond, and the cost of the insurance claim would be agreed between the 2 insurance companies. Secondly, what if you want insurance but your revenue exceeds 20 million? Well, unfortunately, you don't get the insurance, but you can contact us and we can sort you out separately on a bespoke policy. Thirdly, what happens after 12 months when your Cyber Essentials certificate expires? Well, when your certificate expires, your insurance expires. So you would need to renew your Cyber Essentials to take a benefit of this insurance. Or alternatively, you'd have to go out to a broker such as ourselves and buy insurance standalone. And then lastly, is £250,000 worth of cover adequate? Well, it very much depends on the size of the claim and the breach. Most claims that we see are under £50,000, but we've also seen claims that run into millions. So if you are concerned and you just think you'd like more cover, we can extend your cover to £1 million, and that would cost you an additional £560 for 12 months cover. And that pretty much summarises the information on what the insurance with Cyber Essentials is. If there's any questions.
So Duncan, a few questions have come in. Thank you very much for that. That's really good. So just also to make the point that that limit of liability is if you get the Cyber Essentials and the cover for the pilot scheme under the Department for Education. If you are a school watching this and you've gone through the normal Cyber Essentials without being part of the Department for Education pilot scheme, can you just talk about the cover then, Duncan? Is it similar? I think it's a different limit, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right, Emma. So what we've just been talking about is the insurance that comes through this pilot scheme, and you get £250,000 worth of cover. If you are not going through the pilot, you're coming in off the street to get Cyber Essentials, you only get £25,000 worth of cover included within your certification, which is significantly less. Will cover minor breaches, but you can imagine it does run out pretty quick in the event of a big breach.
Thank you very much. So there's a few questions. So one person says, as a MAT of 8 schools, does the policy look at us as a single organisation, or is the level of cover on a school by school basis?
Yeah, this is, I think I sort of mentioned it briefly. We're very much ensuring the IT system. So if you've got a MAT with 8 schools and each one has their own IT system, then each one would need their own separate certification and cover. However, if they are all on the same, using the same system on the same network, then we can have one certification and the one policy will cover them all. Now, where it gets confusing is if you've got a MAT with different schools on different systems and different networks. So we could, in theory, if of the 8 schools, 3 of them are all on one network, we could say this policy is the name of MAT and schools 1, 2, 3 to make it clear which schools have the benefit of the insurance. But hopefully that answers the question.
So in the event of a breach, Duncan, the schools would have to share the policy between them, wouldn't they?
That's right. So it's the policy is covering the network or the system. So if you've got a tiny little school, the £250,000 worth of cover is quite comfortable. If you've got a large MAT with 6 or 7 schools and they're all quite large schools, then the £250,000 cover is spread further and thinner. And so, yeah, they are sharing the one policy.
So I think what we've seen in the past is, obviously, it would be great if an insurance policy would cover, sorting out a breach. But even if it just gets you through the first 24 hours, people do see a big benefit. We know people who've, the breaches happen on a Friday night, everyone's gone away. Who do you ring? There's nobody still working. And the benefit of this insurance is that you have a number to ring and will give you immediate advice on technical and legal. So obviously it would be great if you had full cover for everything, but even having a phone number to ring is a good thing, we find. That's great. There's another question here, Duncan. It says, assuming we get Cyber Essentials and this free insurance, what sort of premiums are likely in the second year, assuming we keep our Cyber Essentials accreditation? So you do need to get the Cyber Essentials accreditation every year, but in terms of the pilot insurance, I don't think we know how that will run next year, do we, Duncan?
No. Yeah, as Emma said, this is just a pilot at the moment where you're getting the £250,000 worth of cover. I would really hope that the cost won't change. Insurance costs are going up at the moment, but we've been able to, for the non-pilot insurance, it's been the same cost now for over 5 years. So yeah, but unfortunately, I couldn't tell you. I would like to hope that the cost of getting certified now will be the same or very similar in a year's time and 2 years' time.
So I guess the worst case scenario is when you renew your Cyber Essentials next year, you would go back to the usual limit of insurance, which is 25,000. So that's the worst case scenario. And I think it would be up to the Department for Education to decide, whether to extend that insurance again. That's great. I don't think there are any other questions that I can see. So these questions, as I said, will be downloaded and we'll write an answer to it, hopefully matching the one we've just given you. And those will be added to the long list of questions and answers that are already on our website that we've taken from all the different webinars. You can see on the screen now the contact details for Duncan. So if you have any questions about the insurance aspect of it, please do give them a ring or email them, and they would be very happy to help. If you've got any questions about the rest of Cyber Essentials, just contact us. Now, I'm going to paste a link in the chat, and this is a link to the customer satisfaction form that Department for Education would like you to complete to just tell them how you found this webinar and if it was helpful to you, if you've got any advice for future webinars. So if you have a few minutes, it's not very long, if you could just click through that and give some feedback, that would be really, really good. And again, any questions at all, just contact our team and we will help you if we can. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you particularly for those of you that have joined us for all the webinars. I know there's a few of you. So thank you very much for sticking with us. And yes, good luck with your certification. Thanks very much.